All right, so tonight, I've been doing this almost 2 years now. Can it be? Time flies. And this is the first time I've ever decided to go through all the things I did through the year and take about 4 or 5 of the most important points that surfaced during the year's Scarcity Sundays. And I narrowed it down to about 4 points that we'll go through tonight. And as usual, if you have any questions, you are welcome to ask. But as we go through all these things, just type it in the chat box and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I will be looking up and down again because the screen is bigger. It's just easier to read on the screen than on the small screen sometimes. And the 4 things that I've isolated this year is actually fitting into other people's value systems, which is a big one. We have to revisit helplessness because this helplessness thing is a big problem for a lot of people. Anxiety, depression, and burnout was a big one. And then what is mind power exactly? Because a lot of people don't understand mind power. It's like, what the hell? We talk about it, we think about it, but nobody explains to you what it is exactly and how you can apply it in your life. All right, so we're going to go through those things. So please, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat box, and at the end, when we get close to the end, I'll go through them as they come up. Okay. So fitting into other people's value systems. That is a big one. If you don't even know what your own value systems are in this life, you are going to be running around like a crazy person, trying to please everybody, trying to find yourself. And people that don't know what their value systems are afraid of breaking boundaries that they set in place, or stepping on toes, or disappointing other people. Okay. But your value systems are crucial. If you don't know what your value systems in life are and you don't live according to those value systems, you're always going to have a tough time because you are going to be like an actor. Okay. Actors have this glamorous life where they act all these different types of scenarios out. But what is your authentic self in that scenario? Who are you according to your value systems? And they don't have to be big values. Okay, you can have 1, 2, or 3 that you can stick to. For instance, if honesty is a value system, if raising children is a good value system for you, if saving animals is a good value system for you, and you don't do those things and know what you're clear on when it comes to value systems, then you're going to have a tough time. And usually, we try and fit into society by finding groups and finding people and find the norm. This normal thing doesn't exist. Okay. It is weird what the norm and the standards are around the planet. So that doesn't exist. And then we try and fit into societal structure based on certain values and norms. And if those values and norms go against us, we have a problem with it. And a lot of people struggle with it. And if you struggle with value system determination, it is a very simple thing to find out. What do you spend your time on? What do you spend your money on? If you won 5 million Rand tomorrow, what would you spend your money on? What would be nice for you to do? What do you read about? What do you talk about? What excites you? Okay, when there's a discussion that's surrounding certain things and it excites you, that's a good thing to have a feedback because that's part of your value system. That is nice. People can go on and on and on about the things they value, but they won't talk so much about the stuff that they don't value. And to get it out of them will be a hell of a problem. Okay. I don't know why this thing is loading a whiteboard. That is interesting. Anyway. Okay, so when we do our values and when we do value determination, those questions are important to ask yourself. Okay. What is happening in your value determination process? If you understand what your values are, you can communicate your values clearly and you can see what your values are and you can live out those values. It will create way more peace than just being in a value determination system that is not yours. Okay, so it's important to understand who you are, what you're about, and you can only find that out going through life and experiencing different things. It's not like very few people when they are children know what they want to be because the options were very limited when I was younger. Okay, there weren't a lot of options. What do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, what the hell? I don't know. Who knows? I'll see when I grow up. I haven't gotten there yet, so I won't grow up yet, but we'll get there. Okay, so it's important to understand that most people's value systems are not yours. Find your own. If you can find your own and you can live in them, it will create a lot of peace surrounding what you go through and what you do in life. Okay. And some people might reject you because of your value systems. That's okay. You don't have to please everybody. Right. Now, when it comes to helplessness, we've discussed helplessness. I think the video is somewhere along the line. I'll post most of these videos on my YouTube channel as well, just because people ask for them and I forget about them. So I just load them up there. People can go see them there. Helplessness is not a weakness. Most people think that when they cannot fix something and they're helpless, it's a weakness. That's not right. That's not accurate. Okay. Like we discussed in the helplessness Sagacity Sundays, if you are helpless, you were born helpless on this planet. Okay. When you were a baby, you were utterly dependent on everybody around you. We were born into helplessness. And now when you grow up, helplessness is not a weakness. The weakness comes in when you think you cannot do anything about it and you don't want to do anything about it. Because on this planet, there are so many things that you can do to help the helplessness in certain scenarios. Okay. And I've worked with a lot of people that went through a lot of different traumas. There are certain things that you can just do to make life more comfortable for yourself. But the first one is accepting that helpless is not a weakness. You are going to go through stages of helplessness in your life. You are going to go through feelings of helplessness in your life. Those things can surface. I love the fix-it-all people. I can fix everything, and then certain events happen in their life and they fall apart because you cannot fix everything. Good luck. It's okay. You're only human. So to fix everything and to want to fix everything is quite a difficult way to move through the planet. Okay. The only thing you can do is empower yourself to understand what that helplessness means for you. And if you cannot ask for help, what are you going to do? What's going to be the worst and best case scenario for you if you go through helplessness? Right. So helplessness is not something that, please, it's not a weakness. People really, really judge it the wrong way. For instance, what are you in control of? People who are control freaks, it's very funny to witness because if you ask them how much they control, they say everything. I'm like, nope, that's not true. You cannot control everything. Okay, could people control what was happening? What was it? 4 years ago. When was COVID? It was a nightmare. The planet stood still. Nobody had control over that. We all went through traumatic events. Everything, businesses closed, families were destroyed, people died. It was so amazing to witness that the people who control everything and try and fix everything, they were at a loss for words because who could plan for that? Who could control that? And who could predict that? Okay, that was a difficult part. So if you cannot control everything, what is it that you can control? Be clear on it. You can control your actions and your reactions to things. That's the only thing about you have control over. You don't have control over other people. You don't have control over their thoughts, their processes, their actions. What they're going to do is what they're going to do. They can hurt you. They can betray you. They can love you. They can do whatever they want. But it's your reaction towards what the scenario is that's going to make you more peaceful or less peaceful. Okay, and that's a big thing to swallow because you don't want people betraying you. But only people who love you can betray you, or who you love can betray you. If you don't care for people, they're not going to hurt you. So anybody that you care for, anybody that you love, anybody that's in your circles, they eventually can betray and hurt you. But that's just part of life. That's how it goes. So if you want to control them, you're in for a tough time. But you can control your own emotions, you can control your own experiences, and you get feedback from them. That is important. So helplessness, when it comes to that, please see what you can and cannot control. The things that you cannot control, be very specific about them and let them go. Okay, and what does this letting go mean? Is it like dropping them with your hand? No. It is when the mind runs towards those things that you cannot control, is to allow the mind to go a little bit and then come back and say, okay, but you've had your fun there. You can give it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, hours, 3 days, but set a time limit on how far you push your mind and allow your mind to go play in the realm where you cannot control. The what ifs, though, so many things that the mind does to put you in a state for what if this happened, what if that happened, fearful state, this, what if it plays in the past and the future all the time. And tell, okay, it's okay to go play in the past and the future, but bring it back a little bit and anchor it in the present. Okay, but it needs a time limit. And it's funny because I've worked with so many people and then they say, oh, but this is so much better, but, and then the mind adds something because now there's a new problem. They don't accept and acknowledge the road that they've gone on. For instance, I had a little boy, he was a teenager, and he had stomach cramps that the medical people couldn't fathom out why he had these stomach cramps, and he had terrible, terrible stomach cramps. And eventually we figured out it was stress related and we sorted the stress out. And as we sorted the stress out, the stomach cramps went away. And after I followed up with his mother, she said, oh, the stomach cramps are gone, but now this and this and this. I'm like, bloody hell, that is big. Just accept the part that was gone, the stomach cramps are gone, and start and congratulate the boy for that. Don't load more problems. What we like to do that. This is now gone, now we do the next thing. This is now gone, now we do the next thing. And the mind wants to go to next thing. So bring it back, acknowledge how far you've come, acknowledge the stuff that's better in your life, the stuff that has changed, the stuff that is not the same anymore as it was a year ago, and then build a foundation of gratitude towards that. Something happens in the mind with gratitude. It's an amazing space to be in. And if you've experienced real gratitude, you'll understand what I mean. But that also takes practice and awareness. Okay, so please don't allow your mind to hijack the reality and make the problems bigger than the reality is. It can do that, by all means. It's so powerful. It just goes. And the more leeway you give it, the more freedom you give it, the more it will go. And I think I've told you guys before, but the Chinese have a nice comparison between these two minds. The logical mind is like a horse with direction. It's strong, it knows where it goes, and when a horse goes in a certain direction, not really going to stop it. It knows what it wants to do. The emotional mind is like a monkey jumping all over the place. So they say you've got a monkey mind and a wisdom mind. The wisdom mind is more like the horse. The monkey mind is more like the emotional mind. Does this mean that either or is wrong? No, you need both. If you don't have emotions, you cannot color in life. If you're an emotionless person, there's no way you're going to enjoy life and enjoy the colors and the fruits of life, because emotions give you that. But emotions mustn't be your master. If emotions are your master, you're in for a tough time. Okay, but it's not wrong to have them. It's not wrong to experience them. They are supposed to be there. They are there for a reason. Now, if the emotional mind takes over, anxiety, depression, burnout, all these things that we've discussed, and I've seen a lot through the year, especially this time of year, people are tired. People just want the year to end because there's this social pressure of, okay, now it's holiday time. Now we have to go visit family. Now we have to spend time with these people. We have to buy gifts. We have to plan. It's funny. They're so tired, but they make all these plans for December. I'm like, but why? Why not just switch off and rest? If the whole world stands still, you can rest. You can switch off and rest. But again, it's fitting into other people's value system. If your value system for December is not to celebrate Christmas and buy gifts, and why do you do it? Because other people are expecting this of you. So when the emotional mind is in charge, anxiety, depression, burnout, all these things can very easily take over. Now, if we talk about anxiety and depression and we think of a timeline, anxiety is always based on future events of what could happen. Depression is always based in the past of what happened. Okay, so it's nice to tell the mind, okay, I'm anxious about what? I'm anxious about the future. Good luck in trying to be anxious about the past. Anxiety doesn't exist in the past because it's impossible. Okay, you're only anxious about what's going to happen in the future. You are depressed about what happened in the past. So the mind plays in the future and the past, but what do we do to bring it back into the present? If your mind is not in the present, and most of us do not spend time there at all, then burnout, I think, is a natural occurrence, because you cannot spend so much time in the past and in the future without something happening to the physical body. And it's ironic because your physical body cannot go to the past, it cannot go to the future. Good luck. Put your body an hour earlier. Put your body an hour into the future. Show me how that works. So the mind does that. So the mind sends you past, present, future, all over the place. But we need to anchor it. And how do we anchor it? There are a couple of things that people do. Okay. Not drugs, not alcohol, not all these things that become addictions. People would like to do that, but that's not very beneficial. The best and the easiest way to anchor your mind in the present is to be total aware of what is happening, or have total awareness of what is happening in your body. That's why deep breathing and feeling what the breath does anchors you in the moment. That's why feeling what is happening in the body anchors you in the moment. But then most people experience pain, disappointment, heartache, and they want to go away from the pain and run towards pleasure. Okay, we are designed to avoid the pain. Unfortunately, good luck on this planet. If you want to avoid pain, there is no way in hell you're going to get that right. You cannot avoid the pain. So what do we do if those bad emotions come up and we breathe and we sit? We experience them. We allow them to surface. You allow the body to go through the process. And this is a funny one because, especially surrounding anxiety, I've asked so many people, can you make the anxiety worse? They say yes. Well, if the case is if you can make the anxiety worse, then you can make it better, right? Because there's always this balance. And they say, oh, okay, I didn't think about it that way. So see how bad you can make your anxiety, how bad you can make the depression, and challenge it on a certain level. The mind goes, what are you doing? And the body goes, okay, this guy's crazy. Why do you want to make your depression worse? Why do you want to make your anxiety worse? Because you want to establish an internal locus of control to take your responsibility over the anxiety, over the depression, and play with it. That's all you can do in the moment. Okay, unless it's very bad, and unless you're in hospital, or like someone I know went to Denmark the other week, so they really cannot cope, so they go for external help. But anchoring your body in the moment and experiencing that feeling to the fullest is what you were designed to do. All right, otherwise you wouldn't have senses. What would be the purpose of senses if you cannot sense what's happening around you? Okay, so with the anxiety and depression, check which timeline it is in. Is it future or past? Allow the mind to go play in the future and the past as much as possible, and then see if you can make that feeling worse, right? And if you can make it worse, then it stands to reason that you can actually make it better. And how do you make it better? Deep breathing, slow breathing, being aware of what is happening in your nervous system while you are breathing. Okay, a lot of people don't even know what's happening in their bodies. Okay, it's like being sensitive to your own body. What does that mean? It means you are in a flesh cage that you are walking around on this planet, and that cage knows what's happening around you. You can touch things, you can smell things, you can hear things, you can see things. Use those things. Now, if you think about it, and it's weird, I've mentioned this before because this freaked me out when I heard it the first time. Your eyes can only see, your nose can only smell, your tongue can only taste, your ears can only hear. You are a receiver. Okay, it's funny. Most people like to be a projector because they talk, but they don't receive a lot. Okay? So you are mostly a receiver for what's happening around you. Now, what's the filter that filters what you receive? Your mind, right? If you touch something that's colder than you, you're going to feel hot, and it's going to feel cold. If it's hotter than your body temperature, it's going to feel warmer than you. Okay, does that mean everybody feels the same because everybody has the same body temperature? No, everybody's more sensitive. Some people may be hotter than others. Some people may be warmer than others. So they touch certain stuff. It doesn't bother them that much. So what happens with your receiver? What is the filter? Your mind is your filter. That's why I think physical exercise is a great thing to do to relieve stress and to have a healthier way, a healthier lifestyle, because it's a no-brainer. All the studies show that physical exercise helps with anxiety, depression, stress relief. It's a necessity because the body needs to move and the body needs to get things out. And it has to actually clear what this receiver did and what this receiver received. So if you are a receiver and your brain is a receiver, can you choose what you receive? Not in today's life. We are bombarded with online things. We are bombarded with people's opinions. We are bombarded with diets, with supplements, with all these things. Okay, and that is insane because how do you filter that? If you don't have a strong value system, you cannot filter all those things. Okay, it's going to be a nightmare for you. Let me just see what Reno says. I'm a receiver. I will always listen to people, and people like to just talk to me. I don't know why. Okay, well, that's not difficult. If you have an empathic nature, and if you are a person that's comfortable with your experiences, and you've had experiences of your own, and you can sit and listen to people without judgment, they are naturally going to want to talk to you. Okay. It's not abnormal, and it's nice, but just be careful. If people like to talk to you, sometimes you can get drained because you don't know how to keep yourself safe. But it's not a bad to talk to you. And it's funny, meet people like that all the time. You're in their presence and you can talk, and it's just better. Life is just better. It happens. Okay, so those people are not bad to talk to, but if you are one of those people, you must set clear boundaries on when, where, why, how people talk to you, unless it energizes you. Okay. I would not be doing the work that I'm doing if it didn't energize me. I would probably be dead by now because of the stuff that I've heard, I've seen, and people's things that they go through. So it's not about judgment. It's about connecting universal truths. Okay. Now, what does mind power mean in all of these things? If you cannot control everything around you, if you have a lack of control, people have two types of control. It's either an internal locus of control or an external locus of control, meaning the external locus of control, people blames everything on the outside. My wife, my husband, my kids, my parents, my childhood, my diet, my this, my that. They have all the things on the outside that they blame. So it's never in their control. They never take accountability. People who have an internal locus of control, they've got accountability for their actions. They know that they can make decisions, and every decision has a consequence. You are in charge of your decisions and your reactions. Okay, so coming to mind power surrounding this, your thoughts. It's funny because who the hell knows how we change a thought? If I tell you now to think of a beautiful flower that blooms in the desert, probably not all of you are going to have the same flower, but you can more or less get an image of a flower. Now I'll tell you, let's switch the thought to a snake lying next to this flower, and the snake is half eaten by predators and is rotting. It's like, okay, now the mind can go there. Okay, so one is nice, one is not so nice, but what changed the mind? Was it my words? Was it something in here? So you can change your thoughts. And people forget this. They get stuck in a thought pattern the whole time, and they think they're a victim of this thought pattern. I think this is where mind power comes in, because if you learn the tricks and learn the awareness that you are not your mind. And it's funny because most of the Eastern practices try and distance you from your mind. How the hell do we do that? Well, there's meditation, there's yoga stuff that they do, there's visualization exercises. But if you're experiencing distancing yourself from your own mind, it's quite a weird experience, because then you go, wow, my thoughts are not mine. I can actually observe them. I can actually allow them to come through. And then if you distance yourself from your mind, that is true mind power, because then you can use your mind as a tool and you're not a victim of your mind. But very few people go that route, because unfortunately it takes time, it takes practice. Okay, it takes awareness. You must be very honest with yourself when you start doing stuff like this. Okay, and that's why we revisited helplessness, anxiety, fitting into other people's value system, because if you're completely honest with yourself, you'll realize that even the closest people to you, you don't fit in their value systems if you dig deep enough. You don't have the same value systems as they do. Okay, every person on the planet have different value systems. That's weird. Okay, and I think it was Dr. DeMartini that said this, and I was like fascinated, because is it possible? And it seems so. If you dig deep enough, you'll have similarities, but if you dig deep enough into an individual, they've got different value systems. And now when you sit in this environment and you don't even know what your value systems are, you don't know how to distance yourself from your mind, you don't know how to connect to a bigger picture on the planet, what's going to happen to your mental health and well-being and your energy levels? I think it's going to crash. I know it's going to crash because that's what happens to most people. Okay. So be aware of your mind, but don't be your mind. Okay. I think, therefore I am. Yeah, sure. Okay. There are way other different approaches than I think, therefore I am. There's an approach, okay, my mind is not me. My body is not me. And I think this is what people attach to or experience in religious scenarios, spiritual scenarios, and then they try and preach it to everybody because this is what helped them. So it's not very complicated. Over all the religions, over all the spiritual practices, the Eastern, the Western, there's a golden mean that runs through them all. And that is, you've got a lot of power over your thoughts and over your actions. You've got an innate ability to actually reflect on yourself. And which animals do that on this planet? Only humans. Okay. Animals don't do that. They don't reflect on themselves. They live in the moment. Okay, we've got a great skill to reflect, but where do we guide that reflection to? Is it judgment or is it acceptance? 99.9999% it's judgment. Okay. It's like, oh Lord, what did I do now? Oh, this was wrong. Oh, I should have done this. But oh, instead of going, wait a minute, accept what you've done in the past, no matter how bad, no matter how you think terrible it was, and then work from there. Because with acceptance comes growth. This is the only way. You cannot grow out of judgment. Okay, judgment is a weird thing. And on the subconscious level, it does not exist. I'm sorry. Worked with too many people. It does not exist on the subconscious level. The subconscious doesn't want judgment. It wants feedback, it wants acceptance, it wants growth, because you are a receiver. So what do you do with the stuff you receive? Are you gonna make it? It's funny because the wound and the wisdom. Are you gonna make your receiver and your experience wounds or wisdom? And I think Sadhguru mentioned that. He said wounds or wisdom. I think that's quite a nice way of putting it. Because is your past going to wound you or is it going to make you wise? There's a choice. And very few of us remember that we have that choice, no matter what you're going through. Okay. I hope this made sense. I tried to tie it in because there's so many things that we discussed over the year. And there's so many videos and so many things I'll still post on my channel and release them, because these sessions were actually quite cool. And the discussions that came from in the questions, the things surrounding children, health, wellness, all these things are actually quite nice to discuss, but discuss it in a practical manner, because a lot of the time it gets lost in fantasy. I don't like the fantasies too much. Okay, because if you have fantasies, it also is a projection, and it's not healthy for the body to live in a fantasy world. Okay, and that's happening a lot around the world these days. Cool. Awesome, guys. Half an hour. Yippee. We get the timing right. Every time better and better. Okay. So do you have any questions before we switch off for tonight? Let me just check the chat box. This has been recorded in any case. I'll edit it and then post it on the group, on the Sagacity Sunday group, for those guys that couldn't make it as usual. I just need to edit a bit of it out. But it's been an interesting year. And I trust that the new year is going to be better for most people. Whatever comes your way that you cannot control, it can be better, just as long as you accept it. Okay, and if you accept it and you choose to do something about it, then not much can stop you. Wat dink jy van ketamine infusion for depression? Yeah, ketamine is an amazing thing, but it also depends where you go and who you do it with. Okay, because there's a lot of guys that's doing it fly by nights and they just cause damage. The ketamine, or the hallucinogenics. So ketamine is basically a horse tranquilizer, but people use these things like the DMT, the ketamine, the ibogaine. What else is there? Okay, there's a lot of things that they use, LSD, that people use, and mushrooms that they use in situations to relieve depression. Okay. So if they do that, Tanya, it is better to have someone sit in the session and guide you through it than just to have the ketamine, because what they do mostly is they put a thing over your eyes. Some people put music on, they inject you with this stuff, and now you sit there. But it is way more effective than have someone sit in and discuss with you what your experiences are. And they've had way more results by doing it that way than just having the ketamine infusion. But I don't think the ketamine is a bad thing. The research and the studies surrounding depression is actually quite amazing. What happened with the ketamine? Okay. But if your house doctor does it and prescribes it, I would say it's better to sit in a session with someone that works with it and works with people in that. And ironically enough, people who work with hypnosis and subconscious, they are well equipped to do the ketamine stuff with people because of the weird stuff that the subconscious comes up sometimes. So yeah, it's actually quite amazing that you can do that. I know one of my teachers does that a lot, and he's done a lot of ketamine sessions, but in Joburg. So he sits in and he talks people through the sessions of ketamine instead of just working, of just having them sit there. I hope that answers your question, Tanya. You're welcome to say if you didn't, or if you want some more explanation. So all these hallucinogenics, yes, they have a place. And it's funny because I think in the 1960s, 1950s, it was suppressed. All the studies were suppressed. Now it's speaking up again because people can see the benefits from it. But I also do think that the intent behind it gets misused and abused because people use it every day. They use it as an escape. Then it becomes just another addiction, which, yeah, it's not the same. You cannot move from one addiction to another. Doing breath is during this helpful. Doing what? Breathe. What's your word, Tanya? Breather. Doing a breather is during this helpful. What is this? Ek probeer uitsê, what is that? Doing breathe is during this helpful. Just just write the question again. Exercise. Okay. Doing exercise during this helpful. Well, exercise is always helpful. If you do exercise for the right intent and if you do it at minimum for 14 minutes. Okay, now exercise doesn't have to be gym and run and go crazy. You can go for quite a brisk walk for 14 minutes with intention, attention, and breathing, and that'll help a lot as well. Definitely. Okay, movement helps depression. It is no longer something that is debated. You cannot say, oh, it does help. So breath exercise during infusion, yes. Yeah, your breathing definitely will help. But as I say, it's not the breathing. It's because once you're in that state, somebody must guide you through it. I think that's way more beneficial than just doing breathing during the exercise infusion, okay, of ketamine. And the session I sat in was to observe. It was amazing because we didn't even touch the breathing. And it was quite awesome because the ketamine did its job. And this person that was receiving it, yeah, was quite relaxed. So yeah, it just depends on the person, depends on the doctor, depends on what the outcome. But I don't think the breathing exercise during the infusion will make it better or worse, because that's a chemical thing that's going into your body. Okay. I hope that answers your questions. But if you have any other questions, Tanya, you have my number. You can just directly WhatsApp me if you have something that you would like to know specifically. Okay. But excellent, guys. Thank you for showing up again tonight for the last one for the year. I don't know, next year we'll probably start only in February. Depends on what happens early next year. I'll see the timelines. And then on the group, I'll just post the channel where I've got the videos, and I'll post a link to the video after I've edited it, so you guys can watch it again. And then I hope you have an amazing evening, and please go watch your mind. Go mind your mind, and remember, your mind is not as clever as you think it is. It's actually, it can be very clever, but it's not that clever. Okay. So I hope you have a good evening, and I will post this on the group again. Thank you for joining, and see you next year again. Have a great holiday season to you guys as well. Don't make it a silly season, make it a peaceful season. Okay. Cool, guys. Thank you very much. Have a brilliant evening. Bye-bye.